Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to my crazy ass. Today we are talking, or I am talking about Hollywood. Everybody comes to Hollywood. They like the smell of it in Hollywood. How could it hurt you when it looks so good? Yes, I'm going to be talking about Hollywood and all of the fuckery. Where would one even begin to start? I mean, what a deep dive this one might be. I've got some notes, I've got some tea, so I'm going to take my time with it and work you through my thoughts on it. I was asked the other day what were my thoughts on Hollywood or the end of Hollywood, it coming to its end, and it most certainly is. So I'm going to keep this video straight to the point. So without further ado, let's get into today's topic at hand, Hollywood, the end of Hollywood. And I hope that, first of all, when I think of Hollywood, I think of this beautiful paradise, this elusive illusion. The concept of a star is that it shines so bright, but yet you can never really touch it. And it's something that is like elusive. And I don't know, like even the concept of a star, it's like you can't even, like how do you get to it? How can you ever get near it? And stars, as we know, they tend to shine bright for a little bit of time and then they burn out and they're gas and out in space. And the concept of Hollywood right now is rampant, and I thought it would be cool to explore this topic as being asked to the other day. So I've kind of thought, well, where do I even start? It's Hollywood. Is this the end of Hollywood? Where is Hollywood? How did it get to where it got? And I'll share some of what I know, what I've discovered, but it's definitely been something that has been like floating around in the zeitgeist at the moment. And I thought it might be interesting to explore the corrosive and destructive effects of what this is and what comes next. You know, where do we go from here? What after Hollywood, what else will there be? As we kind of move into the infantile stages of AI and we start to move into this super speeded up period of time where technology is evolving. Would we even need stars? Who would become the center point for everyone else's expectation of what they're supposed to be? You know, because if the tippy top crumbles, what happens now? Are actors going to be replaced with CGI? I don't know. Maybe I could certainly say it's possible. And I do apologize if this video is a little bit jumpy. But I think in the past, the concept of celebrityism in Hollywood, it really didn't exist so much back in the past. It was, I feel like we have to go further back in a bit of a time machine, back to the time where human civilizations were beginning to form and tribes were forming, probably even back into the Roman days. And I want to get to the heart of that as well, is the pantheon of the Greek gods is a helm or a story parallel that we can examine because it's looking at heroes and gods of antiquity and how that kind of comes to form the collective unconsciousness of what we're supposed to be and the archetypes that we're supposed to emerge into, or what we aspire to be. And humans are, I believe, natural storytellers. We really are hungry for story. We're hungry for externalizing characteristics that are within us, and we try to project them onto physical things. That's what humans do. And if you haven't come to understand yet where I'm at right now, how do I word it? And what I'm about to say doesn't come from a place of any ego. It just comes from a place of observation and love. I do feel that I'm moving on beyond just human. So when I say stuff like human, I of course am human, and I have no delusions about the laws that I am bound to, but I'm really moving away from concepts that once existed within me. I can now see them for what they are, and I'm kind of going beyond that now. So when I often say humans this and humans that, so please know when I say that, I am also referring to the fact that I am still human, but as I've gone higher and higher and higher and higher, the space between me and other is becoming further and further and further away. And that's one of the biggest problems that I'm having right now in my life. And some people have been able to pick this up, and I have too. I think it's just kind of part of my natural evolution. But anyway, I just wanted to give you the context of that. I'm going to go back to it. So the parallel of the collective unconsciousness is we need archetypes. Humans need stories. They're hungry for stories because we're all mirrors of each other, reflecting back to each other, showing each other parts of ourselves, the good and the bad. And we need stories. That's why I'm a storyteller in myself. I'm doing kids' books. I've always been interested in stories, and not just fluffy stories, not fluffy bunny stories, stories that have some kind of level of morality to them, some kind of lesson that we can learn from and grow from. And as humans have a tendency to project archetypes onto physical objects, this ties into capitalism and it ties into consumerism. And I'm going to get into that because we have to go. I'm trying to take you back to where Hollywood got, how it got to where it got. So it really was the navigational starting point of this conversation, really comes from the building up of societies and the gods, the Greek gods. And we see versions of ourselves, or humans see versions of themselves in nature and in others. And I could give you an example. The Roman goddess, the Vesta would definitely be a really obvious, pantheon choice of that archetype. And of course, we could have Odin. He could be one too. It could go be Norse mythology as well. It doesn't matter. But they're powerful. They're beautiful. They're courageous. And they have this, for the archetype of Vesta, first of all, would be like a mother. I often think about that. So we kind of have these challenges that we place into things, and we have like a point of reference that we use as humans create gods or need gods to follow or worship. The gods also need them, if that makes sense. I hope that this is... I hope this is kind of making sense. I'm sorry if I'm jumping a little bit, but yeah. So we want to see a perfect projection of what it is to be tall, beautiful, slender, perfect lips, square jaw. We want to have something that we have to aspire to. Particularly when it comes to the American dream in Hollywood, it would be like the Kardashians would probably be the closest example I could give you, which is someone or something that's not really obtainable, that came from obscurity, that could obtain enormous amounts of celebrity culture, worship, followers, and their life is perfect. They live in this big, beautiful house, and they have this projection that is basically like an avatar. I think that's kind of what happens. Just bear with me, I'm getting there, I promise. But the Kardashians would be the epitome of the American dream, is that if, get rich or die trying, like 50 Cent kind of thing. And that these people or this family is some kind of deity that we worship. And I will get onto that as well. So when we buy something that a celebrity has made, we are giving up our worship to give them more power. That's how gods work. And that's why the left-hand path, or the darker aspects of the left-hand path, is in the tippy top of Hollywood. And it always has been. It's in the tippy top of CEOs and CTOs. Because to get there, it requires a certain level of psychopathic behavior. It really does. And I can explain that a little bit more, which I will. But anyway, I'm going to go back to some of my notes here, and I'm going to try and explain. So humans create gods, and we need these gods to worship, and we need them to kind of give us their blessing so we can have like a fruitful life. And whether we exchange sacrifice to that archetype to take on and inhabit the archetype of that god. So for example, if it was like Beyonce, her perfume range, or a celebrity, it doesn't have to be Beyonce, it could be, their clothing range. We want to integrate Beyonce because she's beautiful and perfect, or the projection of something that we wish we could be, into ourselves. So when we buy her item, her garment of clothing, and spray her perfume or fragrance on her, we are trying to, we're paying homage at the temple of capitalism by giving our money in exchange to be closer to that God. And that's the thing, we've never talked. Sorry, just having a sip of the tea. We've never met these people. We never will. But we create a paradigm with them where we feel that they see us, that they know us, that they're somewhat obtainable in a way. So it's like we have this relationship with this person that represents a symbol of something that we want, but possibly know that we could never have, and they have something that we aspire to. And that's a big part of the whole thing of like, if you don't end up famous, you don't matter. If you haven't acquired all this level of social capital, you are not worthy. And so people idolize the gods of Hollywood or the gods of famous people. And it's a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industry where people will have operations to look like other people. They'll go under the knife. They'll go under surgery to have that butt lift, to look like the archetype of Kim Kardashian, or to have these big blow-up lips. It's like a big slug lips. So it's always changing what you are and molding yourself into the projection of that god. And that's traditionally what the Greek pantheon, going back to Odin and Vesta and stuff, even just the Greek pantheon, Hollywood is Mount Olympus. It is this place that you can't get to. It's a place where the gods live. They live in this gated community. They're surrounded by yes people. They are not down on ground level in a place where they have to decide whether they are able to eat today or turn off their electricity today. They're not in a place that is with the mere common folk, with the mortals, I guess you could say. And in LA, I mean, I've been to LA a couple of times, so just quickly on that, it is this rundown shadow version of something that it once was. And I've been all around the world, quite a few places, but it's got this really dark, sick, fake, phony energy to it. And it attracts people as such. And it's interesting to have this extreme levels of wealth just up the road, just up on these hills. And the archetype of the American dream, which they say you've got to be asleep to get the American dream, to actually dream it, to get close to it. Then you've got raw sewage, just like laying on the side of the street. You've got California has the biggest homelessness problem it's ever faced, particularly in LA. And then you've got things like Disneyland and these illusions and these paradigms of this perfect bubble that everyone wants to be a part of, but it's not real. And in my Dark Side of Pisces video, I mentioned that LA is, being I can tell you, it's not a city of angels. It's a city of devils. It's a city of demons. It couldn't, other than Las Vegas and parts of China, which I've also been to, you actually can't get any closer to something more spiritually filthy, other than like a church, like the Catholic Church or something, or some Grand Poobah or some shit like that. Hollywood is run by psychopaths, sadists, narcissists, pedophiles, and it goes on and on and on and on. And I think that we're kind of homeschooled and conditioned to believe that when, I certainly was in my early 20s with like reality TV happening. I personally, was in that boat as well. I really believed unless I was famous, unless I was on TV, unless I was in movies, unless my face wasn't on a billboard or on the side of a bus, that I didn't matter. Like if I didn't get that, nothing else mattered. And I was hell-bent on trying to acquire social capital. So yeah, I went into the acting world. I went into the entertainment industry. I wanted to be an actor. I pursued it, but very quickly was met with a world that really is like casting couch 101 and incestuous and drug addictions and sexual assaults, sacrifice to some capacity, which I'll go into later. By the way, this video is really quite heavy, so if you're not up for it, please, I'm easing you in slowly into this, but yeah, if you're not up for heavy real chat, then that's okay. I totally get it. Just, jump off this channel and go to another channel, or don't listen, but yeah. So it's kind of like said that, the concept of record labels, I'm trying to articulate how I see Hollywood and how I energetically feel about it as coming from my point of view and being in it as well. There's often sayings like, sell your soul to the devil. I get to have this level of fame, but in exchange, I'll never ever have any privacy. I'll never have any anonymity. Everywhere I go, someone's trying to capitalize off a bad photograph of the celebrity. And then the celebrities complain that they don't have any privacy, when that's the one thing that they knew that they would have to have, that they wanted so desperately. And then when they get it, they don't want to be, on camera or when they're at the beach with their family. But that's the exchange that they made on the table when they made that deal. So and that's one thing I'm learning as well. Let's get this straight. And I know this is true as I'm learning it to be true. As an artist, this may upset a lot of people, but as an artist, if you want to make a lot of sales and you want to make money and support yourself and live a good life, you are going to have to be somewhat famous, because if people don't know about your work, how are they going to buy your work? How are they going to support you if they don't know you they're there? So it's kind of like this double-edged sword, I know I'm ranting a little bit. I know this is a little bit over the shop, but I promise I'm going to try and get through it. So yeah. So modern celebrities are really revered. They're some of them are even seen more high than politicians, and they're loved and they're admired because they're in this kind of social class that we wish that we could be in. They live in these homes, in these places that are idolizing of God level. And it's almost like back in the day, well, not so much now because I think it's starting to collapse, but it's like their rules couldn't apply to your rules. They have illegal teams that can make things go away. They have the ability to, extract themselves out of scenarios where they don't have to face any level of reality. And I've seen that with celebrities personally firsthand myself, and just people in general, is that when they're surrounded by people that never ever say no to them, their sense of reality is skewed because they've got this entitlement where they can just have anything. Your rules don't apply to me. I'm above you. And this ties into the concept that humans are hierarchical. They are. Humans are definitely hierarchical. And so it's kind of interesting when a celebrity is called out for their bad behavior and we feel kind of personally affected and disappointed with their shortcomings and failings, because they've got this kind of inevitability that could bubble up to the surface that they're not who we think they were. And Hollywood being that modern day Mount Olympus, it's really about them not being bound by conventional decency. It's a very obscure place. It's a very weird thing. It's hard to even put your finger on, like that Pisces energy, like the fish. Like you can see the fish through the water, but it's translucent. It's here, but it's over there, but it's not really there. What is it? I don't know. No one knows. It's really interesting. But I've often wondered and looked at it from from complete observation when we mere mortals meet a celebrity in real life. It's like people have real biological reactions, racing pulse, shallow breath, that waves of euphoria. It like parallels some kind of like high, getting high on a drug or some kind of religious experience. And it's just so absurd. And it's like giving your power to another person when it's only a projection of that particular like archetype, whether it was in a movie or something. Like that's one thing that I've often wondered about fans, and I do follow a lot of Alan Moore's stuff, and he's done the book Jerusalem, and there's a lot of interesting things out there that he's done, which really addresses this, and he talks about this in his work a lot, is that we can never level up to them, and we idolize the archetype of a hero, but yet we don't apply it in our own life. And the archetype, talking about gods and heroes and monsters, which Hollywood is very much about, and demons, is that a lot of people take on the archetype of, like, they'll watch a film with Jennifer Garner. She might be Alias, or it might be what's the woman that plays Wonder Woman. They'll take on the archetype of her by dressing up and assimilating themselves to copy her and mimic her, but yet they don't empower themselves in their own life. Like they don't tell their boss to fuck off, or tell someone, hey, you can't speak to me like that, or stand up for someone who's being bullied or marginalized. They just like the archetype that they can assimilate to, because humans, we copy each other. That's what humans do. It's part of our makeup. We learn that way. And that was one of the things that Alan Moore was talking about, and why he was so disappointed and he's kind of disappeared into obscurity, is that people project archetypes onto physical objects or people, but yet don't want to apply it in their own life, because that requires effort and that requires a lot of work to do that. And leveling up is painful, There was actually a comic book. It was like a contemporary fantasy series, which I'll share with you, that came out. I think it was in 2014. It was a really interesting one. I heard about it and I was able to get a copy of it. I'd recommend it. It's called The Wicked and the Divine. It's really about, a little bit about it is about a girl that gets involved with like a group of like famous people in this like kind of pantheon. And, it's loosely based on like the concept of real celebrities, but the celebrity is inhabited by an ancient deity. And they too were just regular people until they were like visited by the goddess Anunnaki, and she offered them the opportunity for fame and fortune if they agreed to become a vessel of that particular god. So it's really interesting how there is definitely a link between a lot of these lower vibrational energies in the left-hand path. By the way, in the demon world and the left-hand path world, there is a chain of command, just like there is on the other side with angels and stuff like that. There are lower vibrational frequencies that you'd probably, like, we're talking like down in the sewer level, that you'd probably pick up, which would be like an Ouija board or something. And then there's, as it goes higher up in the chain of command, you'll kind of get like bosses, and then it goes up into like president level. So you're not probably, when you reach into that level of connection to the other side and the left path, you're never just going to get the president just straight up. It's going to be more, I'm busy doing other stuff. And that's one of the things that I'll say now. If you don't know, you need power to get power. So if you don't have something of power to someone else, your value to them isn't going to be an exchangeable thing. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. That's why in a business construct, most business constructs are actually triangle-based. So as you go higher up the pyramid of the workplace, you'll get less and less support, because it's every man for themselves. And that's what capitalism is in itself. It's everyone's competing with each other for limited resource. So even in Hollywood, say there's one role and thousands of people apply for that role, but only one can get it. So we're all competing with each other for limited resource. I hope that you guys understand that, because the opportunity of selection and natural selection is also tied into the human construct. I hope that made sense. So back to the book, that book that I was mentioning, the goddess Anuki. So they're celebrities that have bonded with entities or gods. But what happens is, in order for them to survive and continue to receive worship, they must live as a celebrity, and thus catches, like, after a period of time, the host will die, and then the god will recontinue looking for another host for that cycle to begin. That is very tied into Hollywood as well. And I know that sounds really absurd, but it is a kind of a modern critique on a little bit of modern day pantheon of worship to the avatars of the divine, the avatars of Hollywood. And so it's because of this, and their beliefs become blurred and distorted, and it's just about like public, I would say public majority dominance. So when you watch TV, you're kind of shown how to think. You're seeing it from the perspective of how it shows you to think. And if you have a low IQ and you're not capable of critical thinking, you kind of see one thing. It could be like a news thing that pops up, and of course that captures your attention, and you don't question it, and you just believe it. And when that happens on a mass level, that's how someone can acquire higher social capital. So I hope that makes sense. But it's really interesting trying to explore this topic because it's so big, and I don't know. I don't know if it's overwhelming to talk about it. But yeah, I would recommend that book. So the modern day consumer is in culture, it really plays a substantial role in the emergence of celebrity culture. So we have to get down on our knee and worship them. And this comes back to that law of oneness thing. So say, for example, a young girl that might be angry and a little bit into like rebellious, her vibrational match looking for a celebrity or a hero or an archetype that she can pattern herself off of, that's the word, pattern herself off, would be someone that would match that vibration. So it might be like Avril Lavigne, for example. Back in the day, she was this punk rock girl, superstar Canadian, kind of grungy, hair in her face. And so like the teenage girl would idolize her friends would like her, they'd buy her clothes, they'd go to her concert. Thus, there is the transfer of energy, of money, of monetary value to that celebrity. And then they put a poster of her on their wall. Like how many of us had posters of celebrities on our wall because we wanted to be them. We wanted to idolize them. We were idolizing them. And we feel almost like a sense of knowing them, like it's a sense of entitlement or a sense of ownership that we have with this person. Yeah, it's really interesting how this all kind of, it's an abstract concept, but it correlates, and it's so personal with every person because we all embody that brand of that concept. But this is where it gets interesting. So in turn, a celebrity that embodies a brand that we pay homage to, in order to get that vital archetype essence, we buying the brand or buying them with our money. So that's what I'm trying to explain here. So it's I hope I'm not losing you, but it is very prevalent, and you can really see that. It's really interesting how it goes into such a dark place, and it kind of forces us to live in this place of being impulsive and just thinking, constantly being consumed by someone else or someone else's thoughts. Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, so my thoughts on Hollywood, getting away from my notes, would really be that these days you don't really need genuine talent or artistry to be famous. And what's happening is, as the zeitgeist has kind of gone more into, you don't need to be an actor to be on TV. You can just upload a video now from your bedroom. You don't need to be the concept of a traditional celebrity. All you need is an internet connection on your mobile phone. And then you can reach out to people and create social capital. And social capital means more followers, and more followers translates into more sales. And that's kind of how it goes. It's the same with trying to sell a tarot deck, trying to sell art. Like I said before, it goes hand in hand. but it forces you to do this. It forces you to have that social presence and keep up the concept of an archetype, which you may not even be. And 9 times out of 10, every time I met a celebrity that I idolized, I was disappointed every single time, because I too, in my early 20s, had this idea that they'd be this person that they just weren't. And you would go near them and you would see that they were just like grumpy, tired, frustrated, because they're just like you. They're just like me. The concept that we have is that they're untouchable, but underneath it's all just like a marketing machine. And a lot of them don't have any sense of who they are. A lot of actors have no idea who the fuck they are. They like playing characters because it's a convenient way of getting out of their own self. There's a lot of self-hate in the acting world. And so it's parodying other people. And then it's like you don't get a chance to, and you never will get to see who they really are behind closed doors. It's interesting to see, we see these outbursts like with Will Smith a couple of weeks ago, with like slapping of Chris Rock, or we're getting a bit of a peek into the Amber Heard trial with Johnny Depp right now, where we see her behavior is just like incredibly bestial, incredibly nasty and horrible. So you've got to ask, like, who the fuck thinks that they can behave like that? You've got this sense of reality that's completely blurred, to go up to someone else's face and just violate someone else's face like that. It's so interesting. Like I said before, celebrities, they just completely lose touch with reality. And it's really sick. It's really sad. And it's like no one can seem to take a joke. And yeah, it's interesting because back in the day, in the 90s and the early 2000s, or even before that, to get us an interview with a celebrity, it would have to have been really carefully like micromanaged through like a publicist team, or it would have had to have been carefully selected interview questions. But since the internet happened, since social media happened, celebrities don't have to go through that. We feel they're more accessible to us. And then they show us their life. They show us their homes. They show us how they live, because they can get that dopamine hit, that ambrosia, from that ambrosia, from us. When we validate their behavior by liking their photo or liking their post, even if they don't know what they're talking about, we're still paying homage to them. And of course, that leaves a lot more room for error. So we find out a lot of them, celebrities, have no idea what they're talking about. Whether it's Madonna, it doesn't matter who it is. They have these moments where we see this person that really is the opposite to what we thought they were in our head. Yeah. So yeah, these days it's kind of like the art form of having a skill set isn't really necessary, as long as you can make something that's entertaining and it's digestible and it's like got tea and it's a little bit spicy, a little bit bitchy, then that can acquire social capital. Back in the day, you had to really put out like a lot of hard work, a lot of effort. But these days, that I think that's the concept that kind of happened when reality TV happened, is that I don't have to have a talent. They just film my life and then they edit that and make that into a product. And a lot of people kind of jumped on that bandwagon. I think one of the first reality TV shows might have been The Simple Life with Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton. I think that might have been one of the first ones, where they just kind of toured around as these sport, obnoxious rich girls, and went into just delving into, traveling through America and just making a mockery of other people's lives. Like whether they went to like Burger King and made a joke and made a mess on the floor, and then, that type of thing. It's interesting. I think you guys get where I'm going with this. I could go on and on and on with this, but it's not until we see like some of the opinions that some of the celebrities have on things that we look at them and go, that is just not real. Like Sean Connery, when he gave his opinions on violence against women, like that was one of those things like, what? Like, how does someone think like that? And I think a lot of people have asked me, what are my thoughts on celebrity worship? Well, it's a form of worship, and a lot of demons attach themselves to celebrities. Yeah, I can tell you a lot of celebrities whether intentionally or unintentionally, subconsciously have bonded with cosmic entities or demons or dark spirits, if you will, on the other side, and they are in some level of agreement. The demon can get its needs met through the host, and of course in exchange can make a bit of an alterations in the physical world, which they can, to make that person more famous or more marketable or become this money generating machine. There's a lot of kids that go into Hollywood and they get all fucked up. A lot of them end up on drugs. A lot of them are all fucked up. We know that. And, it just kind of chews them up and spits them out. There's like this concept of Hollywood in my head that I think of right now. By the way, when I talk, I'm just channeling here, guys. Like it all just pours out of me. I don't know like what's coming through my mouth. It just kind of, I do, but it's it's hard to explain. I'm in kind of half in state right now. But yeah, a lot of like young girls want to, they can sing with a guitar, or they'll come to that dream of coming to Hollywood and making it big. They want to be a star, or they want to be on Broadway, or they want to be a celebrity. And coming from such a small little obscure town into a big city, they're probably going to end up working at a diner. They're probably going to end up falling into porn to try and survive. And yet again, it's not real. It's porn is not real. Well, it's become a lot more real now with like Twitter and stuff like that, where you can just film on your phone and make a profile and charge people money to view that. And they call it content these days. They call it content, which is really interesting. People have different concepts of what the word content is, like eating an apple, that's content, mundane things like that. But back in the day, when we watch porn or we watch that level of pornography that's really hardcore stuff, we consume that person to meet our need, but we don't actually really care about how they feel. Like how emotionally, how did she feel after 5 guys just run a train on her? She's probably got to feed her kids. She's probably got to catch the train home, or she's got to get, another. We don't think about the aftermath. And so abuse becomes quite normalized, and it has kind of trickled into the collective, like this use and abuse relationship that we have with each other, where we reduce a person to an object, use them and leave, that type of thing. Whether it's through porn or whether it's through the way that we hook up or interact with each other sexually, it's this kind of disconnection that we have from the beginning, where we don't take the other person into account. We just consume them and then we're on to the next, A lot of how society tends to work these days. It's very transactional, and no one tends to want to put down a perspective of any level of ownership, because then they've got to commit to that. So there's no commitment. It's all like non-monogamous, Yeah, anyway, I don't want to go too far into that. But yeah, basically, the end of Hollywood is starting to happen. We're starting to see things break down. We're going to start seeing a lot of the personal personas of Hollywood tainted. And it's breaking down because there's more important things going on in the world, like what's happening in the Ukraine. There are more, like, this is the thing, celebrities or actors or rock stars, singers, whatever, they're obscenely paid, okay? They're not doctors. They're not saving people on operating tables. They're entertainers. They're there to distract you from what's going on in the world. They're entertainers. It's like a court jester. Yeah, they're not there to give an opinion. A lot of celebrities also, they remain neutral on a lot of things. I remember an interview I watched with Emilia Clarke, who played Khaleesi in Game of Thrones. She said something which really got me right in the heart years ago, that she can't really have a political opinion, because if she did that, that would basically cut in half her social media following. People would unfollow her if she doesn't agree with her. If they don't agree with her political stance, then she'll lose capital. So it's almost like, as a lot of celebrities, the more famous that they get, the more like aloof they are. They don't tend to want to use their celebrity influence in a way that could potentially harm themselves. It's such an interesting thing. I think you get where I'm kind of going with that. So at the end of the day, Hollywood is not real. It's not real. And we see that with Harvey Weinstein. We see these toxic cultures that have existed in Hollywood for so long. And I think that as people, I would like to believe and look at it on a positive side, is that a lot of people are now starting to finally wake the fuck up. They're starting to see that a lot of these people are not who you thought they were. They're not Greek gods. They're not immortal. They're not beautiful. They're monstrous. And the divide between becoming rich and poor, as it becomes so obscenely wide, there's no middle ground anymore. You're either super rich or super poor. And so that's the thing. And a lot of you guys don't understand the concept in itself of the capitalistic system that we're in, because we're competing for limited resource, is that for one to acquire wealth, someone has to lose wealth. Someone's got to get richer, someone gets poorer. Someone gets stronger, someone gets weaker. This is the balance that life brings us and the systems that we have in place as well. But yeah, it's interesting because brands are associated with celebrities, and that lifestyle projects down into us, and then we aspire to be like them, even when it's not real. So I've come to terms with this a lot in my life, and I finally accepted it and began to really look at things from a really real point of view, and understand that it is very, very difficult to sustain something that is not real. And now with social media being the way that it is and the way that the world has gone in the zeitgeist, Hollywood is beginning to collapse. We're beginning to see the underbelly of it all. And who cares? Who gives a fuck? I think the best thing you can do is to pull your attention away from things that don't really help the world and move them towards real issues that are going on in the world, and get educated and take the time, not just looking for cheap entertainment, Hollywood gossip. Because secretly what it is, and I understand it. It is when you see a celebrity going through a very bad divorce, or you read a headline on a magazine about Angelina's bust up, or J-Lo's lost her new man or something, secretly because we wish that we could be her or them, when we see them suffering, it gives us pleasure. That's why we read it, because we enjoy that they're going through some drama. It makes us feel better in proportion to where they are. Because all things with humans are constructed in a level of obscurity, shall we say, but also a level of comparison. So say, for example, when I stand next to someone who's tall, I'll feel short. When I'm standing next to someone who's short, I'll feel tall. When I'm around someone who's super wealthy and has acquired a lot of money that I wish I had, in comparison, I'll feel poor. When I'm around someone that looks aesthetically beautiful, how I wished they looked the way that I wished that I looked, then we'll feel unattractive. So you see where I'm going with this? So it's that concept of this carrot that we chase, but it's never real. We never get the carrot. It's always striving and work harder and push more and da-da-da-da-da. But it tends to be more focused on the physical thing, not focused on who you are as a person and developing yourself as a person, and just learning to just love those quirky things about yourself. Love your nose. Like, how often, that's part of my shadow work video, how often do you stand bare naked in front of the mirror with the lights on and just try to come to terms with the aging process? That's another thing about Hollywood, is that you're expected to not age. You're expected to look beautiful and young and be desirable forever. Aging is a natural process of life. It happens to everyone. You're not going to evade it. You're not. Anyway, this has been a hardcore video. I've talked about a lot of stuff. I've covered a lot of ground very quick. I know these videos are very dense. This is some of my thoughts on Hollywood as we begin to see the cracks form and we begin to see things for what they are. Their hold on the world is beginning to come to its end. And I do believe that before the collapse of modern society, Hollywood will begin to collapse to a point where we no longer really give a fuck. And it kind of became this old, it's just not special anymore. It's not interesting anymore. You've taken social media, and the internet has taken away the allure and mystique of a celebrity now. And now it's just like another person that, you know, does something else, no different to working in a supermarket. It's changed. The world has moved on. And I think it's a good thing. I think it's a thing that needs to happen. And I think that it is happening. That's my thoughts on it. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I wish you a really fantastic week. And yeah, leave me some comments below. I'd love to know, like, I want to know, like, what do you think about what I've talked about in relation to the Greek gods being, you know, the Mount Olympus is Hollywood. You're a mortal, they're a god. What do you think about the end of Hollywood? What are your thoughts on this? I'd love to know. I do read comments and I do enjoy engaging with you guys. And, you know, it's nice to connect with people that can understand what I'm talking about too. So I'm not like rabbiting on about all this crazy shit. But yeah, all right, I'll leave it here for today. And thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you in the next video. I'm going to be getting back into the occult stuff and doing some more videos. So if you've got a hot topic or any topic that you'd like me to share my thoughts on regarding pop culture, you know, obviously not Hollywood, we've covered it today, but also talking about witchcraft, the occult, the left path, magic, law of attraction, hermetic principles, anything you'd like to talk about, let me know. Leave me a bit of a message in the comments below and I will get back to you. Much love and light to you. And this was my thoughts on Hollywood. Bye. Bye.